welcome Trice's owner, Maureen Edwards, to the stage. When you watch that video back, 47 starts, 12 wins, 14 placings. It was quite a record for Trice. How honoured are you tonight to see her inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I'm very honoured and proud, and I'd like to thank Rawa for entering her into the Hall of Fame. I'd like to thank Perth Racing for naming a race after her, which is a privilege. So what more can I say?
We love each and every year watching the Trice Classic and thinking back about her and some of the great races she won. A Group 1 Karrakatta and a Group 1 Railway. Now, the Railway Stakes dates back to 1887, and in that history, only 5 fillies have done what she has done, and that was win it as a 3-year-old filly, let alone having won a Karrakatta as well. At what stage did you know just how special she was?
Roy had a very good eye for a horse. He could just look at one and say it was going to be all right or win races.
Is that the way you felt when he first spotted her at the Adelaide sale?
Yes, we paid $2,800 for her. But when she won the Railway Stakes, it was only worth $6,000. That was the first Railway Stakes that she won.
Hey, you wouldn't mind it being for the $1.5 million on offer this year, hey?
Correct.
It would have been nice. It would have been amazing, though, to win that Railway Stakes. We'll get to the other one in just a moment, but I think one of the most remarkable things about the Trice story is when you know about her as an individual. Can you describe what she was like? What would yard watchers say? We always see the mounting yard fence lined with people. What would the yard watchers have to say about Trice?
Well, if they had to look after her, if I could say if she was a human, she would suffer with anxiety. We'd take her to the races. Someone always had to ride with her in the float. Myself, a few times in the 2-horse float.
What was that like, being in the back of the float with her, and I guess you're just trying to pacify her on the way to the races?
It was scary. Often I thought she'd tip the float over. I know it was illegal, but we had to do it. Roy used to say sometimes, pretend it's not race day, but she knew it was race day.
How would you go about trying to trick her into thinking it wasn't race day? I know you had a few tricks.
Well, Roy had a radio played in her box all the time to try and get her used to the noise. When we'd take her to the races, she would shiver and shake, and sweat would pour off her like a tap. And the bookmakers would say, she can't win, but she'd go out and win.
It was just her innate, how each horse has their quirks.
Well, she had the will to win, but she was, if I can swear, she was a bitch to train.
And it sounds like that's exactly what she was. It must have been, whilst you were obviously on the ride of your lives with her, in some ways, was she stressful? I imagine going to the races every day, you'd be holding your breath, just hoping you got her there in one piece.
Correct.
It would have been.
It was a nightmare. Every time she went to the races, it was a nightmare.
Now, it wouldn't be the Trice story without touching on that 1970 Railway Stakes.
That was the race that I say she won. My son says to me, Mum, professionally, she didn't win. But to me, she won the race. She broke the state record. She equalled the Australian record. And it was 50 metres from the start.
It was an extraordinary story to win a race by 2.5 lengths and then to have a protest fired in for interference at the start of the race. And I believe that no one's actually seen the footage.
We paid to have Cliff Carey, which was a race caller in Sydney, which was very well known, and he was a gentleman. We paid him to come over and see the film. And it's noted in the paper that he said, if anyone can prove to me that she caused any interference directly or indirectly, he would retire from race calling. That was his opinion.
Well, I think that's enough to say that she won 2 railway stakes.
Me too.
And in your heart of
Me
hearts,
too.
I think tonight we can honour her with 2 railway stakes, despite losing it on protest. Maureen, finally, you weren't alone on the Latrice journey. You mentioned your late husband, Roy, there. What would he have to say if he could see her being inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight?
He would be very proud, and he used to say to me when she had the race named after her, Maureen, think yourself lucky that you've had a horse good enough to have a race named after her.
And now, not only does she have a race named after her, she is forever inducted into the WA Racing Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Latrice.
Thank you so much.
So beautiful.